the real reason young men feel lost and what to do about it. If you're early in your career and you feel like you have more to offer, but you can't figure out what to do with it, I want to talk to you for a few minutes. Maybe you did everything right. You went to school, you show up to work, you go to church. You are trying, but something still feels off. Everyone around you seems fine living small, and you keep thinking, I'm supposed to be doing more than this. You're not wrong. And I want to tell you what's actually happening and what you need to do before more time slips by. The quiet crisis. People talk about the crisis in young men in political terms, economic terms, but the real issue is actually simpler than that. Young men don't feel needed anymore. Think about what's happened. Technology replaced jobs, AI is replacing skills, and now people are talking about universal basic income like that's a solution. Like men don't need to produce and just lounge around and survive. But a life where nothing depends on you is not a comfortable life. It's a hollow one. There's a real temptation to escape responsibility and try to be as independent as possible. I get it. Men were built to carry weight, to solve problems, provide something to the people around them. But when that's gone, something inside starts to go quiet. And this quiet is where drift begins. Hi, in case we haven't met, my name is Chris Almanza, and I'm a career and purpose coach. For years, I've also mentored young people, and I've had this exact conversation many times. What I'm about to share comes from years of sitting across a table with young men who felt exactly how you're feeling right now. The missing fire. The Greeks had this word for what's being lost today. Thumos, spiritedness, fire in the belly that makes a man want to prove what he's capable of. The Romans talked about it too. Ardor, a flame in the chest that drives a man to rise. Unfortunately today, a lot of young men have had that fire put out. They've been told, don't compete too hard, don't want too much, just be polite and don't take up too much space. Here's the problem with that. Without that fire, a man drifts. And drifting doesn't feel dangerous at first. It feels just like waiting. But waiting quietly becomes a decade. And a decade without direction is very hard to recover from. I help men in that specific situation all the time. And that's what inspired me to make this video. I also want to help men avoid getting into that situation. Why you can't keep waiting. Your young adult years, especially your 20s, they're not supposed to be comfortable. I don't know where that idea came from. Some people believe that we really shouldn't expect too much from young adults. Kind of look at it like an extension of the teenage years, just no longer in school. I do not think that is the best use of your time. Your 20s are supposed to be formative. This is the decade when you build discipline, develop skills, and find out what you're actually made of. If you've spent time waiting to feel ready, waiting for clarity, waiting for the right, perfect moment, you're gonna hit 30, wondering where all the time went. And here's the thing no one tells you. Purpose doesn't show up first, action does. You don't think your way into a meaningful life. You act your way to a meaningful life. You move before things make sense, and meaning will build behind you as you go. Steve Jobs once said that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. This isn't a motivational quote. This is just how it works. The truth about purpose. A confusing phrase is often told to young people. Find your purpose. As if it's buried inside you and you just have to dig it out. I'm sorry to tell you, but purpose is not found. It's built through action, through commitment, through becoming genuinely useful to other people. You try something. You take responsibility. You fail and adjust. And slowly, a direction starts to form. Looking back later, it will feel like purpose, and it is. But in the moment, it's just gonna feel like doing the next right thing. This is the best freedom of your young adult years. Any losses up to this point come at a low cost. I know it doesn't always feel that way, and mine felt like I could never recover, but I did. And I know you can too. God blesses the brave. What it actually means to be a king. There's a word that today's world has almost completely lost the meaning of. King. Today, it can sound arrogant, or it gets reduced to an Instagram caption. But the word has a history worth recovering. In his book, Becoming a King, Morgan Snyder writes that the ancient vision of becoming a king wasn't a man who dominated others. It was a man who has been deeply formed in his character, in his integrity, in his inner life, that he could be trusted to bring order and goodness to the world around them. A king wasn't born, a king was made. Through years of obscurity, through hardship, through learning to rule himself before he was ever given anything to lead. The great King David, before he was ever a king, spent years alone in the wilderness, tending sheep, learning patience, building character, all where no one could see it. That season wasn't wasted. It was the whole point. Morgan Snyder's core argument in his book is this: most men want to do kingly things before they become the man who can carry it. And that's exactly backwards. The kingdom that you are meant to lead, your home, your work, your relationships, even your community, it needs a man who has been formed. Not just a man who's ambitious. For those of you from a faith tradition, particularly a Christian one, this lands differently. The early church taught that a man is called to reflect Christ's nature as priest, prophet, and king, not as a title, as a calling. A priest, someone who intercedes, who shows up, who sacrifices. A prophet, someone who speaks the truth, who refuses to go along with what's false. And a king, someone who brings order, provision, and protection for the people in their care. You don't have to be religious to feel the weight of those words, because they describe something that every man deep down knows he's supposed to be. What young men actually need. What young men need more isn't comfort. It's structure, challenge, and responsibility. Psychologists talk about this, and the research is clear. Humans grow through a cycle: effort, delayed gratification, reward. Remove the effort and the reward stops meaning anything. This is why comfort doesn't produce meaning and fulfillment, and why responsibility does. A man who carries something real in his life, relationships, and responsibilities that depend on him, that man has a reason to get up in the morning. 8 things I tell you over coffee. 1. Become dangerous in one skill. Pick something valuable. Sales, engineering, design, leadership, building businesses. Then pursue real mastery. It's going to take time and a lot of work. Confidence doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from becoming someone worth listening to. 2. Start carrying more responsibility. Volunteer, lead, mentor someone younger than you. Responsibility will develop you faster than any course or book ever could. 3. Train your body. Lift. Push yourself physically. It's not about the perfect physique. It's about what it does for your life. Discipline in your body builds discipline in your mind and soul, and men need this. 4. Find men who expect more from you. Your environment sets the standard. If everyone around you is settling, you will slowly settle too. Find men who are actually building something. 5. Move before you feel ready. Clarity comes from action, not thinking, not planning, action. 6. Do the inner work, not just the outer work. Morgan Snyder called this the difference between the outer king and the inner king. A man can look successful, but still be running on empty inside, still reactive, still controlled by fear or approval. The inner work, understanding your wounds, patterns, your default modes, that's not weakness. That is how a man stops sabotaging everything he's trying to build. Try journaling, therapy, coaching, spiritual direction, honest friendships, prayer, and silence. These are not soft. They're the forge. 7. Live for someone beyond yourself. A man who's only building himself eventually runs out of motivation. Maybe you already have a wife. Maybe you have children. Maybe you don't yet. But the man that you're becoming right now, the habits you're building, the character you're forming, that man is going to show up in someone's life one day. Your wife is going to need a man who's done this work. Your children are going to need a man who isn't still trying to figure out who he is at 40. You're not just building a career. You're building a man she can trust. a man that your children can look up to, and a man that your community can count on. 8. Embrace this wilderness season. Morgan Snyder writes extensively about this. The wilderness is not a detour. It's actually the curriculum. Every significant man in history, whether you're reading the Bible, ancient history, or modern biographies, went through a period of obscurity, hardship, and waiting, all before he was ready to do what he was called to do. If you're in that season right now, if you feel overlooked, uncertain, or behind, I want you to hear this. You're not being forgotten. You're being formed. Don't waste this time trying to escape it. Mine it. Grow it. Do the work. Here's the vision I want to leave you with. Somewhere, maybe close, maybe years away, there is a woman who is going to need a man who has done the work. Children who are going to need a father who is already formed. A community is going to need someone they can trust to lead. That man doesn't appear out of nowhere. He is built quietly in the wilderness through discipline, responsibility, and inner work, long before anyone sees it. Every generation of men is part of a chain. The men before us carried responsibility so that we could have the lives that we live now. And what we do with our formation, what we build in our character, our souls, our capacity to love and lead, that gets handed forward. You are not just building a life for yourself. You are building something to give away. This is what a king does. This is what purpose is all about. And that is who you are called to become. I love talking about this stuff, and usually I'm speaking to mid-career professionals, but I'm starting to see the need to talk more to early career professionals. My name is Chris Almanza, and you can find me at careerandpurpose.com. I sincerely wish you the best, with blessings and success.